guys, Krusop here with another One Piece discussion video. Today I'm going to be bringing up something that I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about, at least on the One Piece YouTube community, and that is the inspiration for Wholecake Island based on classic American movies. So I just want to tell you that this is my personal opinion, and this is not an exhaustive list. So I'm just going to talk about some key similarities I see in Wholecake Island to some of the American classic movies, and then one movie at the end that I don't really consider a classic, maybe a classic in the making, but I really saw the connection between that and Wholecake Island. Well, anyway, let's get started. So when I saw the end of the Luffy-Katakuri fight, I was so shocked at the way that it ended. First of all, that, you know, Luffy actually won like that. It was very surprising, and I was wondering, you know, why? Like, where had I gotten this feeling from before? And then I thought back to actually the Rocky movies, and I started to see a lot of similarities between Luffy and Rocky and Katakuri and Apollo Creed. So let me try and draw the connections here. So Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies is the undefeated heavyweight champion in boxing, and he's never lost a match. In fact, he has never completed a full match of boxing. So, you know, you go for the potential of 15 total rounds where you're scored on points, unless there's a knockout before that, and then he's always knocked his opponent out before that in the story. So the way that the first movie goes was a really shocking end to me. So spoiler alert if you haven't seen Rocky 1. The way that Rocky 1 plays out is that Rocky is able to go toe-to-toe with Apollo Creed for 15 whole rounds, but at the end, still on stylistic points, they give the victory to Apollo, which to me was very shocking, because after all this build-up, I'm like, how could Rocky possibly lose, you know? And I kind of got the same sense about, you know, the kind of build-up that we got for Katakuri, that at least he would be, you know, able to tie Luffy, that he wouldn't just, you know, fall over at the end of the match like that. But then when you think about it, you know, Katakuri and Apollo Creed, you know, they were both really pushed during these matches because they're not used to having to withstand such a long fight, have the endurance to actually keep up with the match. And I want to point out the ending of Rocky 2, which I'm not sure if I've seen the whole thing. It's definitely been a while, but that movie ends with Rocky and Apollo rematching, and then they both fall down at the same time in the 15th round, and it just so happens that Rocky is able to get up first before Apollo does. And this is exactly pretty much what happened at the end of the Luffy-Katakuri fight. They both go down for like 10 minutes. In the Rocky movie, it's 10 seconds, obviously, or else it would be like a double knockout. But after the 10 minutes is over, you see that Luffy has climbed out of the hole first, and then you have Katakuri standing up, and then he talks to Luffy for a little bit, and then he falls over out of exhaustion. So, yeah, I guess with the surprising kind of twist ending of Rocky 1, at least it was a twist the way I saw it, that kind of shock, you know, the One Piece chapter, the end of the Luffy-Katakuri fight was a little bit reminiscent of that, and it just left me with kind of a weird taste in my mouth. So now I want to get into the second movie that I want to talk about, which is The Wizard of Oz. A lot of people like to draw comparisons between Wholecake Island and maybe Beauty and the Beast, but I think that they draw a lot more from The Wizard of Oz, and here's kind of why. So, you essentially, in this analogy, Nami is kind of like your Dorothy, right? And she is sent on this mission by Pudding, who is like Glenda the Good Witch, and then, you know, she's got Luffy, who doesn't have a brain, Sanji's not got the heart and Chopper doesn't have the courage. Well, actually, it should be Usopp in that role of the lion, but what can you do? But yeah, anyway, a lot of Totland reminds me of Oz. You know how they have the obsession with candy, and Oz you've got the Lollipop Guild, and everything is just in bright Technicolor. And honestly, I know this might sound a bit cheesy, but I think that it would be a nice a nice comparison if you're looking at going from black and white manga to anime, going from black and white within the Wizard of Oz movie, because the Wizard of Oz was like the second movie to have color in, and they just shocked people by actually going from black and white to color. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that at the time. And the movie came out in like 1939, 1938, something like that, so a really long time ago. But anyway, they're going on their journey through the seducing woods, and then they encounter Brûlé, who's the Wicked Witch of the West. And one more kind of interesting comparison I want to point out is actually Cracker, because if you remember in The Wizard of Oz, Oz is not what he looks like, what he appears to be. He's just a man operating the strings, a normal man, but he looks like this giant head of a wizard that's green. And Cracker's really similar to that too, because he has this huge buff warrior body, but really he's a pretty skinny and small dude just hiding within the shell. So a lot of these things are letting me draw comparisons of the first part of Wholecake Island, at least, to The Wizard of Oz. So the third movie that I want to get into is actually Singing in the Rain. And this one's a bit of a stretch. I went with my more concrete examples at the beginning, so I could just kind of, spitball a little bit more towards the end. Anyway, what I'm thinking about in terms of Singing in the Rain is, first of all, Luffy coming out of the cake. So the only place I've really seen that is in Singing in the Rain, where Kathy, who is the main love interest, jumps out of the cake and surprises Don Lockwood, who's this famous actor. And I guess that this was initially where it kind of clicked for me, where maybe these movies have a certain relation, Wholecake Island arc versus Singing in the Rain. Anyway, that's where I drew the first connection. The second connection, and I'll have to give you a little bit of background on Singing in the Rain, is that there are two women. There's Lena Lamont and there's Kathy Selman. And they're both very different characters. Lena Lamont is arrogant. She's the famous actress. She thinks that she's super great, and she also believes that Don Lockwood, the lead male, is in love with her. Then there's Kathy, and the thing is that Lena, even though she's a famous actor, she has a really terrible Brooklyn accent in the movie. And then Kathy has this great singing voice. So what happens is, essentially, when these talking movies started to come out, because before that they were just silent films, suddenly there becomes a need to use your vocals in the production of movies. So now Kathy is standing in, dubbing Lena Lamont's voice during these movies. And honestly, this might sound like kind of a stretch, but both of these characters remind me of Pudding, because you have the sincere Pudding, who feels really bad for Sanji and is in love with him, and then you have the actress Pudding, who's very arrogant and selfish. And yeah, Lena Lamont, she's always like, I will sue you. So sorry, that was a little cringy, but yeah, she's just, a really hateable character, like some aspects of Pudding that we've seen during Wholecake. And finally, the fourth movie that I want to talk about, which is not exactly a classic, but I just immediately made the connection when reading the chapters in real time. So I wanted to point it out to you guys, would be Gattaca with the Vinsmoke story. So Gattaca is a story about choosing the very best genetics, the very best combination of sperm and egg from two parents to get the strongest, smartest, most capable children possible. And the thing is that this becomes a norm in the world that Gattaca is set in. So everybody is super talented in this world, except for the main character, Vincent. And because he's just a normal human being, you know, born out of love, that he actually isn't able to compete with, you know, the other people and fulfill his dream of becoming an astronaut. So the main character, Vince, has a little brother named Anton, who is, you know, actually one of the superhumans who's just created with the perfect genetic combination from his parents. And you see that this child is growing a lot faster than Vincent is. Anton is better at, you know, all sports and all that kind of stuff. He has, you know, better vision. Vincent needs glasses and so forth. And then the crazy thing is that they have these swimming races where essentially they swim as far as they can out to sea, and then finally they have to turn around when one gets tired, and then it's always Vince who loses because he doesn't have the superior genetics to actually compete. But one day Vince finally actually outswims Anton, and this is like huge. And then finally, when they're grown men, they race again, and then Anton just asked Vince, like, how are you able to do this? And Vince says he wasn't saving anything for the way back. And you know, this just really reminds me of Sanji, like, you know, coming back from the Straw Hat crew, able to beat up Yonji, you know, like, I was just like, wow, you know, it seems like in both these stories, you know, your hard work and your determination to succeed can actually, they can drive you to escape your destiny based on genetics. So I really felt like there was a strong connection between Gattaca and the Vinsmoke story. Now, like I said, these are just 4 examples of movies that, you know, I really thought that One Piece could have drawn some inspiration from, at least in Wholecake Island. I'm sure that there are a lot more ideas that you guys have, so if you'd like to leave some of those in the comments section, please do so. And, you know, don't forget to like the video if you liked it, rate, comment, subscribe. And yeah, this is Krusop once again, and I'm peace